Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to be with each of you. I received a lot of emails today about fear and doubt, and that just happened to be the thing I was going to speak about tonight. So I don't know if there's something in the air or the universal intelligence of life, bringing us together in this way. This world, it can be hard, it can be messy, it can be confusing, it can be overwhelming. And one of the ways that most of us deal with something that we can't control is to begin to question it. Question what's happening, question how we should respond, and then question our response, and question ourselves, and then again question life, and question others. And sometimes we latch on to someone that we think is strong, and then or a path that we think is good, and then we begin to doubt that, and maybe try a new path, and then we go here, and then we go there, and as you see, it just makes a big mess. Just kind of running here and there. Like from a place of compassion, we can see that that God gave us a brain, and one of the capacities of the brain is to question. To question. But God also gave us a heart. And God also gave us Buddha nature. And in your heart, the heart doesn't question. The heart just knows. Buddha nature doesn't question. It just knows. And so if we find ourselves neurotically doubting, it just means that we're disconnected from our heart. We're disconnected from Buddha nature. It means we're up in our heads, living in our heads. And you won't find the truth in your mentality, in your thinking mind. You won't find it in your egoic nature. You will not figure life out. You won't. Life is a giant mystery. Giant mystery. And it's unfathomably complex and intelligent and ununderstandable. Like a different word for that is uncomprehendable. But our mind, it thinks, I'm going to figure life out. I'm going to find the magic pill, the elixir. But if you ever notice your mind, when it goes after like trying to figure life out, if you just stop and feel into the one who's trying to figure, if you stop and simply just notice, experience directly, the one who's trying to find the answer. When you feel into that one, is he not insecure? Is it not insecure, that one? Like if you just notice how it feels to be in your head and to doubt, to think, the Europeans, the British especially, use this word sort. They try to get it all sorted. But you don't sort life. Life sorts you. Life will sort you out. Life will put you in your place. In your place. Now, most of us, we don't like our place. And so we doubt and we struggle and we strive and we effort and we fight. And then we doubt, like, is this the right way? Is this other way the right way? Is there a quicker way to be enlightened? Is there a quicker way out of this pain? How about a drink? How about a smoke? How about oh, now I need to stand on my head, because that's what those yogis do. They stand on their head. I need to say the mantra. I've said it 999,000 times. If I say it 1,000,000 times. Some Buddhists, some Buddhist teachers, they offer like a prescription, like you have to do this many prostrations. I remember a friend of mine, he got a prescription to do. It's like 350,000 prostrations. I was like, geez. He said, Craig, I'm just going to see how fast I get through them. And something just told me, that something being my heart. Well, that's not how you're going to get enlightened. Through doing your prostrations as quickly as possible. That's the figuring mind. And so this is a good thing to look at within yourself. Like, what's your relationship with doubt? Does doubt visit you? Does it inhabit you? Are you renting a room, like in your house? Like do you have an Airbnb house where you're renting a room? There's a random person called doubt, and they're just living in your house, living in the space of your mind. Or are you like me? I don't have much doubt at all. I once did. I once was just plagued with doubt. And then one day I fell on my knees in a pool of tears. And tears is what it was. It's realizing I'm not going to figure this life out. I cannot figure it out. I cannot hold it together. I cannot sort it. I can't sort this thing out. And so I gave up trying to figure it out. And in the giving up, God showed me something very simple. It's a very basic truth that a lot of people don't like, but I actually love this truth. God just showed me very clearly, I'm the boss. I'm the boss. It's a very simple truth. I was like, oh, I went from tears to hysterical laughter. Just like, oh, you're the boss. That's right. I had forgotten that. I had forgotten that. You're the boss. And have you ever had a boss that you gave yourself to? what you'll find is when you're working, when you're with the boss, there's no resistance. If you just give yourself over to the boss. And this is what I did. I said, oh, okay, I'll just give myself over to this way, to this way. Because I tried my way for a long, long time. I realized that my way just wasn't working. And so I started to doubt myself, said, well, maybe I'm not doing my way right. Maybe there's a different way. And then another way, and another way, and another way that I could get my way. So God showed me clearly, no, there's my way. And so when we struggle with fear and doubt, it's just pointing to the fact that we're not in alignment with God's truth. We don't like God's truth. We don't like God's will. And that's okay. I mean, that's human. That's human. And I could say, well, you don't really have to like it. But if you resist it and if you fight against it, that's what doubt is. That's what fear is too, is fear is we're just fighting with the moment, saying no to the moment. Doubt is like one step above fear. It's like this mental game where we are trying to hide from fear through just questioning and figuring and sorting and planning. And please don't anyone be confused. There's a time and a place to plan and sort. It's good to have a retirement account and that type of thing. But I'm speaking about doubting the will of God. Now, again, most people, because they're not connected to their heart, they're disconnected from the ground of being. They have difficulty trusting. They have difficulty letting go. And, if that's us, we have a choice. We can continue to do what we're doing and complain. Again, like I took that route a couple decades of my life at least. Argued and complained. Or we can say no to doubt. It's a strong, firm no. And then a willingness to face the fear. To face the fear. To embrace it. To see it purely as energy. I mean, that's all fear is. It's just energy. Just energy. It could be uncomfortable energy. But it's just energy. And if you look directly into the energy of fear, you might learn something great about yourself. You might learn that there's a scared kid inside who's crying. or a kid who's really angry. And I smile because sometimes the fear is, it's a fear of our own anger, our own rage. And so we just kind of shut it down and keep it closed. And on top of that lives just like this boiling anxiety of fear. But it's really, we're afraid to open that door and face it because there's rage there. And again, if you look at what rage is or what sadness is, just a lot of energy. Rage will come with the energy of heat, and sadness will come with the energy of the ground falling out from under you. And if we sit with both of these and open to them, you might discover something deeper than them. They might actually move and empty out. Move and empty out. And so this is, this is something worthy of investigating. So we start with doubt. We notice, oh, I'm doubting. That means I'm in my head. I'm probably not in my heart. So as we journey in the direction of the hara, we might discover under the doubt is fear. Fear is just a label for an energy like this, like, and you feel what's under that. And then again, there's probably a scared child or an angry child, or both. And if we allow that fully to be here, and we embrace it with a quiet sense of love, you'll find that that will burn off. It's through the willingness to face what's within you, to face doubt, to face fear and fall through fear into whatever emotion or memory or feeling of abandonment or loneliness. And as you embrace that with love and let that burn off and continue to fall through, you might discover this very quiet, massive, dense, heavy, yet ridiculously empty ground. And in this ground is your freedom. Is your freedom. So if you want the antidote to fear, to doubt, you have to fall and fall further and fall further and fall further until you hit the ground. And in this ground, you discover, oh, I'm not afraid. What could I be afraid of? For I am life itself. I am life itself. I am life itself. I had a girlfriend once upon a time, and she lived in San Francisco. She was a waitress, and she was a pretty girl. And I asked her a question, kind of a fun question. I said, "Isn't it hard being a pretty girl as a waitress? Like, the guys just harass you all the time?" And she said, "Oh yeah, they do, but I just put this face on." And she showed it to me. Like, normally she had a smiley face, but she put like a tough face on, like a "don't screw with me" face. And I said, "Oh yeah, okay, I could see that. That'll scare the guys away. That'll scare them away, and they'll leave you alone." And sometimes, like, if we're plagued with doubt, like some people are wired to doubt. Like, literally, they have this as a fixation. If you study the Enneagram, it's people who have a 6 fixation. They doubt like crazy. They doubt, and then they doubt the doubt, and then they doubt the doubt of the doubt. It's just like it's constantly questioning. I got it, I lost it, I got it, I lost it, I got it, I lost it. They just drive themselves mad. I actually know this intimately because I have a 9 fixation on the Enneagram. And when 9s are really stressed, they go, they turn into a 6. They play the doubt game. I used to drive myself mad. And God will do this to us on the path. God will put us literally in a double bind. A double bind is basically you're screwed either way. It's one of God's games, is to put us between a rock and a hard place. And when you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, you can keep doing what you're doing and nothing will change. Or you can look deep within. You can find a different center, a different place, a different mind. So you can come into the world of prajna and into your heart. You can come into Buddha nature in the belly. And then you'll find a resolution that you hadn't seen before. And these resolutions, they're different than like, "Oh yeah, like, look at this, I just figured it out." It's not like that. It's more like you wake up and you realize, "Oh, this is the way. God's way is the way. This is the way. This is the way. This is the way." You see something that you hadn't seen before. And be very clear that this is God's way, not your way. And so when we struggle with doubt, when we struggle with fear, sometimes we just need something simple, just to stop, to put a boundary on our own self, on our own egoic nature, to say, "I'm not doing that. I'm not going to question anymore. I'm going to come into my heart, and the first answer I hear, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to question if it's right or wrong, good or bad, like, dislike. I'm just going to do this." So in order to trust, we have to get the hell out of our head. The key word there is get the hell out of our head, because when we're in our head, it is a hell realm because you're disconnected from what you are. Disconnected from what you are. When you come into your heart, you're deeply connected. It's very difficult, I'd say almost impossible, to fear when you're connected to your heart, when you're connected to your belly. Incredibly easy to fear when you're in your head. Yeah, it's ridiculously easy to be entrapped, enslaved in fear and doubt if you're up here. If you're in your heart, in your belly, very difficult. If you're in your belly, it's impossible to doubt. You can still complain and say, this is uncomfortable. Like I could say, the way I feel in my body right now is very uncomfortable because I'm still quite sick and it's very uncomfortable. But I don't fear the discomfort. It's no fun. But that's different than fearing. There's no fear. I went to the doctor the other day and he had a lot of fear about me. He was very scared. But anyways, when you're connected to your nature, you don't fear. And so that's the question. If you're struggling with fear, if you're struggling with doubt, how can I reconnect? And unfortunately, like if just saying, a mantra doesn't work immediately, you have to be willing to face that which you don't want to face. That's the direction you walk. Like if you want fear to be liberated, you walk in its direction. You get to know it. You see, what is this? What's this really about? And I want to be crystal clear here because sometimes people who are really mental, they can just like think about the fear and pick it apart like mentally and philosophically. That's not the way. It's the willingness to feel the thing you're afraid of, to turn and face it, to turn and face it. Okay. So we face the fear, we see what's under the fear. And sometimes fear in the present moment is really about an old fear, like a childhood fear. And so as we face that and meet that with love and look and see, well, what's under that? We once felt abandoned. And that moment of abandonment has been frozen in time for 20 years. And as we face that and embrace it and choose not to abandon ourselves, right about that moment, you discover this thing called the ground of being. And the ground of being, nothing is abandoned. For you are everything. For you are everything. Okay. I had a couple questions come up in response to this. So see if I can go ahead and respond to these. Hi, Craig. When facing hopelessness, there is no chance whatsoever the situation will be resolved according to our egoic human needs. How do we move on? Where do we find strength when everything seems to be falling down? Well, we find strength in our connection to God. That's where we find strength. In our connection to God. And you said the key word here, Lisa. You said that, there's no chance whatsoever the situation will be resolved according to our human egoic needs. Egoic needs are not the truth of life. God wants to show you a different truth. Now you have to be careful, because when our needs are not being met, and it looks hopeless, our ego will project that hopelessness into the future and says, this is terrible now, it'll be terrible forever. And that's how the ego thinks. But the truth may be something quite different. The truth may be that you surrender to this moment and something breaks, something falls apart, and something new comes about. And in order for something not to be resolved, well, you'd have to die this moment for the possibility or the potentiality for it not to be resolved, to be true. Let's see if I can say that better. Hope that made sense. God might surprise you. And again, it might not be the resolving of your egoic needs, but God might show you something different. And sometimes our prayer needs to be, Lord, give me the strength to face what's here. Lord, give me the strength to live the life you want me to live. Lord, give me the strength to face this thing you're giving me. Give me the strength, God. Often my prayer has been, Lord, I don't know what the hell is going on here. You have to show it. You have to show me the truth in this. You just have to show me the truth, because I cannot figure this out. I don't know how to respond. I don't know the right way. You show me the way. You sort it out, Lord. I certainly can't. I'm getting nowhere with what I'm doing. You show me, Lord. But if we're struggling with hopelessness, the prayer should be, something like, Lord, give me the strength. Give me the strength to face what's given. And I encourage you, if you're facing hopelessness, to make sure you are extra compassionate toward your human self. This teaching that I'm giving, it may sound really cold and harsh, but I want to assure you that it is very helpful to be extra compassionate to yourself. This isn't a teaching to shut your heart down. I'm inviting you to open your heart, to love yourself deeply, to embrace the part of you that feels hopeless. And to look to God and say, God, you show me the truth of this. Show me why you're doing this. Show me what this is about. And in the meantime, Lord, you better give me the strength. You better give me the strength to face what's here. And I encourage you to demand this of God. And then the other component of it is trust, as trusting in God's will. When everything seems to be falling down, there's a reason God has things fall down. God is dismantling one thing, dissolving one thing, ending one thing. God has to end one thing for something new to come in its place. And again, our ego may not like it, may not like that everything's falling apart. And that's okay. Like you don't have to like it. Like I don't like having a health condition that's gone on for 7 months. I don't like it. But I trust that God has something here for me. In fact, I know that God shows me something every day. Every day. Every day. Every day I wake up defeated. And every day God shows me something quite beautiful, quite wondrous, quite holy and divine. And I've learned, at this stage in the journey that if I fight with God's will, then it's me putting a wall between me and the truth, between me and God, between me and grace, between me and love. And when I don't fight with God's will, then there's great love. And yeah, maybe a little bit of suffering. Maybe a little bit of suffering, but that's human, Too many of us have this idea that we can get out of this world without suffering. Ask Jesus about that. Okay. Here's another question on a similar theme. Hi, Craig. I'm struggling with trust. There was a phase of my awakening when I felt very surrendered and had almost complete trust in the universe. I was living intuitively from the heart. Now I feel like I'm back living in my mind, full of fear and mistrust. All I want to do is to get back to a place of surrender and trust in the flow of the universe. Yeah, and so this goes back to the first thing I spoke about. Can you find the place within you where you're disconnected from God? And so you said it right away. You said, I'm in my head, not in my heart. But can you place your attention in your heart and notice what you feel there? And for some of us, when we feel disconnected from our heart, we just feel dead there. We feel numb there. We feel nothingness there. And so I encourage you to walk around in that nothingness, to imagine it's like fog. And you're going to walk across an ocean of fog and see what's on the other side. So go get in the fog, walk around and see what's there. See if you trip over anything in that fog. And by that, I mean, See if there's any karma, any heartache, any pain, anything repressed that you're ignoring or denying. In order to trust, you have to be open. In order to be open, you have to be in your heart. And so I encourage you to get in your heart and walk around there and see what the heck's going on in my heart? Why do I feel disconnected from my heart? It's a great spiritual question. I'm going to say a should here. You should never be disconnected from your heart. Never be disconnected from your heart. And so the solution to that is always be feeling and opening and experiencing in the space of the heart. And this may be very painful, but when you embrace pain with love, the pain will burn off and you'll be left with love. There'll be trust there. Starting with trust. Another word for trust, or like when we're not trusting, it's almost always because we're afraid to feel. We are afraid to feel. So through the willingness to feel, that openness occurs. And sometimes it just gets so old and boring to be in your head. Like sometimes you get sick of yourself, sick of the sound of your own voice, sick of the sound of doubt. It's like, oh, geez, I just can't do it anymore. Just can't pull it off anymore. And so an opposite movement of that is coming into your heart and realizing how ridiculously beautiful and divine you are. You look in the heart and you're like, oh my God, this heart is so good. So good. So good. But can you look inside and find your beauty, your ridiculous beauty? By ridiculous, I mean it's like so beautiful, ridiculously beautiful. And one of my friends, when I was a kid, my friend I used to skateboard with, his name was J.J. Van Landingham. That's a fun name to say. And he used to call me Craigalicious, because he'd look into my heart and he saw something really good there. So he'd look at me with a big smile and just say, Craigalicious. And so he saw my beauty. And I saw his. I saw his. And so it's the willingness to let go of all that thinking, all that crazy thinking, and penetrate deeply the beauty and the divinity of your heart. The beauty and the divinity of your heart. And so, Lisa, if you're feeling hopeless, I want you to look into your heart and see that you, my dear, have the heart of an angel. You have an angelic heart. It's precious, it's tender. It's like a brilliant white light. And I'm going to say this word, though. Unfortunately, your heart is sensitive. Like when you have an angelic heart, it tends to be really sensitive. tends to be sensitive. And so if our heart is sensitive, we have to balance this heart. We have to reconnect it with the strength of Buddha nature, so it doesn't feel helpless anymore, hopeless. And you connect it with its strength, this angelic heart that you have, Lisa. Say, oh yeah, I am so beautiful. I am so bright. I am so divine. This thing that's happening is temporary. It will pass. It will release. It will heal. It will lift. God has a new life in store for me. A new life. Sometimes when you get in touch with your strength, you stop falling apart. The people around you start falling apart. The ones giving you a hard time, they start to crumble when you rise up in your strength, when you discover your strength. Okay. All right, let's see if we can do some questions here. I'm just going to ask that the questions are short, clear, and direct. Let's hear from Catherine O'Neill. Catherine, are you here?
Yeah, I'm right here. Hi.
Hi, Catherine. Good to see you. Catherine, where do you live?
I'm in New York. Yeah.
Like in the city?
No, like on Long Island, like outside. That's where my grad school is. Yeah.
Okay, on Long Island. All right. Yeah. Well, Catherine, it's good to see you again. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I guess my question is very much related to this satsang and kind of the questions you've been forwarding already. And it's kind of like when I suppose it's about doubt, and it's my question is around like when do I like when do I push, I guess? And then when can I like lean back? I guess I have a lot of fear around like, am I doing enough right now? Like, should I be pushing harder? Do I need more rest? Have I taken too much rest? So it's still that doubt, but I guess it's a kind of like question around, am I working hard enough, I guess? And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
wondering
yeah,
how to
so let's do this. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and everyone else in the song, we can play this game too. We can all close our eyes here, and you feel into your heart and in relationship to your path and your life. Are you doing enough? If you come into your heart and you ask your heart, what's the first thing your heart says?
right now, I was just kind of very nervous, I think.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So we include the nervousness. We breathe into the nervousness and we embrace it. So that's the fear there. Good. And if you feel into that fear and you ask the fear, what do you need? What does it say?
I think he just really wants to be held.
It wants to be held. It wants to be held. And so it's not really a question of are you doing enough? It's really a question of what do I need? And so your body is telling you, I need to be held. And so I invite you just to breathe into that part of you that wants to be held. And can you love her? Can you hold her and love her? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you ask her again, like in a sweet way, a gentle way, is there anything else you need? What does she say?
Time.
Time. Good, good. So she's telling you she wants to be held
Yeah.
for a long time. A long time. A long time. And so this is what we're inviting. And so when we're holding, we're not pushing, we're not forcing, we're not efforting. When we hold a part of ourselves, it's more like breathing deeply, softening around, being gentle and compassionate, having a sense of inclusivity, and not abandoning this aspect of self. And so this is beautiful. Everyone here can play this game of holding oneself in love, compassion, kindness. And as you do so, you'll notice your consciousness becoming deeper and wider. Deeper, wider, and more radiant. And so this is the way. Fair enough? Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing yourself with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Okay, so this is what we do when we have pain or we have confusion within ourselves. We come inside, we face the fear, the feelings, the nervousness, and we ask it, what do you need? And you'll find your heart will speak to you. It will show you the way. And as you see, this is a lot different than thinking. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I meditate more? Should I meditate less? Should I meditate more? Should I meditate less? Should I say a mantra? Should I do somatic trauma healing? Should I do more body work? Should I do? It's like crazy. All that kind of thinking. You just feel into yourself. Your heart will tell you very quickly what you need. Your heart will tell you the way forward. The way forward. Okay. Let's see. Richard has a question. Richard, are you here?
Yeah, I am. Hi.
Hi, Richard. Did you have a birthday?
Oh, I sure did. Yes, yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's my 30th. It's my 30th.
Happy 30.
I know, officially an adult. Woo woo.
Officially an adult. Is that when we become an adult, when we're 30?
It is, correct. God told me.
Okay.
God told me. So that's,
I've been an adult for 2 years now.
Let me, Craig, real quick, I'm spying a book behind you to your left. It has a red cover and a white binding.
Yeah.
What is it? What's the title of that?
It's Kundalini Rising.
Kundalini Rising.
Yeah.
Who's the author?
It's just a mix. It's like 30 essays or something, just various people, and tells about their experience of Kundalini.
Cool. Just curious. I saw it.
Yeah. It's not one that I encourage people to read or anything. It's just people sharing their stories. And I saw it at a store once and just picked it up.
Yeah, for sure. I just looked over and felt some kind of attraction towards it. So I was curious.
Yeah.
So I also want to say I see the picture of the Divine Mother right behind you. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there she is. I just wanted to bring her in for a moment.
Yeah.
My question today, Craig, is prefaced by a small narrative. I shortly before Costa Rica, during Costa Rica, and now, I've been having this experience, but it came forward in a very pronounced way. And I would really love to hear what this just kind of brings forward in you. I can really get caught in my mind. And I was recently going to bed and thinking, I'm not as awake as I'd like to be. I'm not as awake as I'd like to be. And I started to go in my mind and say, well, I just need to double down. I needed to double down on some practice, some non-conceptual meditations. And then as I was doing that, it stopped, as it often does. The narrative just can't continue. And then I heard this thing say, "You are awake." It was really great. And it was this moment of, it's not an ego state holding an identity of awakeness. It's more this collapsing of the mind
Yeah.
and moving into what's already present. And I'm playing this game at this point, I recognize, where I can choose to stay in my mind, or I can choose to be awake.
Yeah.
Or I can choose to be awake. And it reminds me of what you talk about in regards to stepping into one's divinity, kind of claiming one's divinity.
Yeah.
Like at some level, there's a choice to step into that. And it's also an interesting transition moment where moving out of the operating system of the mind into the operating system, perhaps of the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the unknowing, of the feeling nature, and of just being, and allowing movement to happen from there. So I'd really just love to hear your, like, what that sparks in you and your comments about this transitionary period, and whatever you got.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. This is I have this memory. I was a young fella, and I was with my teacher, and we were on the land, and we were just walking into this garden that we had built. And it was right before a retreat, and right before retreats, my teacher, we would walk the land and all the buildings and the housing and the gardens and everything, and he wanted to make sure everything was like just right. So we'd walk around, and he'd give me a list of things to do to get it ship shape. And all these people were coming, and he just stopped to me and he said, "Craig, all these people are coming, and they want me to do it for them." Like, if you wanted, a teacher was a very powerful teacher, incredible grace surrounded him, and a lot of miracles and this and that. And he said, "Everyone wants me to do it, and no one's willing to do it themselves." And that just really, really stuck with me. In a sense, he was telling me, like, look, if you want this, you have to live this life. You have to choose it. You have to embody it. Awakening will come by grace, but in order to live it, you have to choose it. You have to embody it. And when that first comes about, you might notice yourself having a choice, like literally 1,000 times a day. The choice to be awake, or the choice to go back to sleep, or just the choice to be lazy, to be human, to be asleep. And in the beginning stages of awakening, this may seem like a lot of efforting. Like, I really got to choose to stay out of my head and in my heart. I really have to choose. And some people who are a little too spiritually lazy, there's probably a good word for that, but like, a lot of spiritual people are just really ungrounded and open, and they just want God to do it for them. They don't want life to do it for them, want something, a teacher, want to get Shakti pot, whatever it is. They just want to get the thing, see the guru, go on the big retreat, and have it stabilized that way. But spiritual awakening stabilizes through you choosing it. And whether you have to choose it once or 10 trillion times, it's a worthy choice. It's worth your time to choose it again and again and again. And as you do so, eventually this thing just takes over, and then there's no more choosing anymore. Just you've been got. If that's the right way to say that, but you've been had. It gets you, and you can't be ungot. Can't lose it. And so sometimes God, looks at us in the beginning and says, well, are you willing to put your money where your mouth is, like that old saying? But really, are you willing to choose me, choose the truth again and again and again and again? And this is the beginning stages of liberation. The beginning stages of liberation start with you choosing to say no to the old and yes to the truth. Say no to habit, no to addiction, no to confusion. Like, no, I am not confused. No, I do not believe in doubt. Addiction's an interesting one because some people really hold out with addiction. It's like, no, I'm addicted to nothing. I am awake. I'm not addicted. That doesn't mean your body doesn't have, like, if you drink coffee or something, you don't have cravings. Body might have a craving. But you ask yourself, am I the body or am I the truth? Again, nothing against coffee. I don't touch the stuff. Touch the stuff myself, but nothing against that. I don't have any philosophical orientation against that. But it's just like the question of, are you willing to live it? Again, this is where Christ is a great example of someone who is willing to live it. To live it, to live the truth. And again, this is a great place to investigate. Living the truth. Does that mean living in your heart and living this intuitive truth? Or does living the truth mean trying to mimic the Buddha's life? Or mimic something I read in the book, or mimic this guru in India, their life, or whatever. Like when I was young, I tried to mimic the life of the great ones. I was like, okay, yeah, but this isn't my life and it's not my truth. Now, my truth in this incarnation is not to be a monk, to be a father, to live in this world, in this moment in history, with this life, this family. And so it's a choice. It's a choice. And the more you choose the truth over and over again, what happens is it just becomes radically easy. You just get in this flow of it, where you're just living in the truth. You live in it. It's living you. It's living you. And if we don't know and understand this power of choice, what happens is we end up very much like this question, the second email question I got of, I felt very surrendered and I was trusting. And then later on, I didn't feel surrendered and I wasn't trusting. And so the thing with egos is egos choose based on thoughts and feelings. But the awakened one it's hard to say that the awakened one chooses. The awakened one just lives in alignment with the truth. It's not even a choice anymore. It becomes choiceless. That this is the way. This is the way. This is the way. No matter how I feel. And this is the place where most people stumble, is they reconnect with their egoic nature due to feelings. And the truth isn't a feeling. The truth is the nature of God. And so the thing to watch for is, well, like, it's easy to choose the truth or choose to be awake when we feel good. And where the rubber really meets the road is, are we willing to choose the truth when we feel bad, when we're scared, when we're sick, when we're hurting, when we're tired, when we're lonely, when we're, in a foreign land? Can we choose the truth when people have abandoned us and betrayed us, attacked us, humiliated us? Let's have some fun here. And that's what God is really looking for in us. Like, if we really want to stabilize in being awake, do we choose the truth when we're tired, cold, lonely, scared, betrayed? And where it really matters. Where it really matters. Now, some people get a little nutty with what I just said there, and they take it to like a fundamentalist degree. Like, truth is not a fundamentalist thing. It's an open thing. It's a receptive thing. It's intuitive. It's not principled. It's beyond principles. It's a movement. It's a power. It's a force. It's a way of being. When we're principled, it's we're actually hiding behind an ideology. And so to live in the truth is what takes a degree of, a huge degree of receptivity, of humbly listening, being really in tune with God. And people get real hard and rigid around choosing the truth. And again, that's where it becomes a dogma and a philosophy, a principle, versus just this flow of life. And you see, in the beginning, it takes, like we were speaking about with Richard, it takes a lot of energy in the beginning to choose it, especially on bad days. But after you've done it enough, you get in this flow, this stream of it, where it just seems like this is the only way. It's choiceless. It's choiceless. And that's more of a later stage of liberation, where there's no longer like different minds inside your head. There's just one movement. One movement. One movement. So anyways, a beautiful question. Thanks, Richard, for sharing, and big happy birthday. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear from Robert. Robbie, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Robbie, good to see you.
So, just a sentence question. Are emotions always fully processed to be healed in the belly?
No. So emotions can live anywhere in your body, but oftentimes they'll live in the upper chest, the mid chest, the solar plexus, the belly, but they can be in your like sometimes if we've had trauma, if we've had abuse, sometimes it can get stuck in like in our hips, in our pelvis, pelvic floor. An emotion can be held, sometimes like the emotion of frustration. It can be held in the shoulders, it can be held in the jaw. Like some people have like arthritis, like a different one of the reasons arthritis happens is because there's like festering anger. Another reason for cancer is festering anger. So it could be held, in all different kind of places in the body. But the best place to look is in your heart and in your belly, because that's normally where they hang out at. But sometimes if we've done a really good job of repressing, we can push it into, like our left side hip or something. Like sometimes people have that kind of thing. Or some people, like I've worked with some people before physically where I felt like I could just poke their body, and there'd just be the emotion of rage or just festering fury and anger and resentment would begin to spill out, this is why I place a lot of value on body work, because you go get with a good body worker and they'll show you where you've stored all kinds of emotion. So is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was a pretty easy one to respond to. And so the big thing is, on this path, it's important to know thyself. And we can talk about knowing thyself, like I spoke about getting in contact with your heart, getting to know your beauty and your divinity. We can know like how we get hung up in our head and how our psychology works and this and that. But part of knowing thyself is just knowing like, where do I normally repress my pain? And if I asked any of you, what do you feel in your heart right now? I would expect an answer like that. But if we're going I'm not, well, hold on, like, let me go and I'm not really feel like, when we have that kind of response to a question, like, what do you feel in your heart? It shows there's a disconnection there. And again, like we spoke about in the beginning, can I inhabit my heart? Can I feel my heart? Do I know my heart? Am I connected to my belly? Am I connected to my belly? Like, what do I feel in my belly? What's there? What's there? Does it feel numb and dead? Does it feel angry? Does it feel tight? Does it feel tense? Does it feel like it's on fire? Does it feel like there's a tornado of chaos and trauma there? Some people, when I ask them, what do they feel? When I look at them, they're not even in their body. They're like floating above their body. A lot of spiritual people like to float above their body. Much of my childhood, I just floated above my body. Just floating out there somewhere. And I didn't want to feel, because I grew up in a house that had a lot of intensity in it. And I was scared of that intensity. So I just floated around above my body. And so, it's good. It's good. Like, well, what am I feeling? And of course, this is why, again, I place a value on, like things like body work. But like, as far as the spiritual practice is concerned, if we practice yoga every day, if we practice some type of martial arts or some type of qigong or something, where you have this direct relationship. You're inhabiting your body, you're feeling your body, you're breathing into it, you're noticing it, you're here. And so there's awareness of the body always. 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 And so if that's not the case, again, it's great to have a good physical, spiritual practice of some sort. And, if we have health issues or we have trouble being physically active, sometimes it's doing body scans or yoga nidra or some type of, tantric practice where we're just really feeling into all the subtle body and the different centers and this type of thing. So anyways, I hope there was something helpful there for you, Robbie. But the big thing is with emotions, it's just a great question. Just, how am I feeling? And if we get a response like, fine, like sometimes, I've asked people that sometimes like, how you doing? Fine. It's like, okay, like, what the hell does that mean? Normally it just means I'm in my head and I'm disconnected from my body. I don't really know, or I don't want to get into it. I don't want to say, I don't want to. And, I can remember when my life was really falling apart, and because I was so in touch with my body, and then the cashier at the natural food store would be like, hey, how you doing? Like checking me out, with my groceries and everything. And they'd ask me how I'm doing. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm doing terrible. I'm so sad. I'm hurting. I'm falling apart. It's just because I could feel it all, because I was so connected. I'm just, tears are pouring out of my eyes because I was in touch with what's here. I'm in touch with it. I'm in touch with it. And because of that, because I was in touch with it, and because it could be expressed and released and emptied out of me, then I'm not stuck with it. And with a lot of people, they have pain that they don't allow themselves to experience it in the moment. So they swallow it. And not only do they swallow it, they do like what a trash compactor does. They just repress it deep down. Again, like into the hips, into the pelvis, into, like under, lower than the belly button. They just push it all the way down. And then they bring their consciousness like up here, and they're like, I'm going to do everything to avoid that. It's one of the great reasons why people get depressed or get fatigue, is because they're unconsciously repressing old pain and sadness. And because we spend so much psychological energy repressing old pain, or like trying to hide it, stuff it in the body somewhere, our consciousness is like, it gets so tired, so it falls asleep. And again, like I can say that from personal experience, because I once did that. I once did that when my life was just, I was trying to hold it all together, and I didn't have time to feel everything. And I was a single dad and tried to raise kids and all this, I was just doing too much. Didn't have any time for myself. So I told myself to shut up, try to take care of everyone on the outside. And, eventually I couldn't keep it up anymore, is what happened. Couldn't keep it up anymore. But people are amazing. People's ability to repress things, they can do it for decades, People are amazing in a silly way. So the thing with this willingness, it's a willingness to feel what's here, a willingness to embrace what's here, a willingness to be with what's here will take us to crazy crazy places within us. And there'll be a lot of energy, a lot of feeling. Could be overwhelming for our mind and this and that. But again, if you look at what emotion is simply energy. And energy just wants to flow, just wants to move, just wants to move. And human beings have this great ability of taking energy and making it stop and just freezing it. And that's not going to help us to wake up. That's not going to help us to heal. If we freeze things, we end up feeling numb and dead. We'll feel like a freezer. We'll feel like a freezer. So anyways, Robbie, thanks so much for showing up and continuing to show up and share your heart with us. Yeah. Okay. Let me take a peek right over here in Facebook land. How do you recommend sharing the truth teachings with children? Oh, wow. Besides self-example. That's the way. That's the way, is we share the truth with kids through living it. But what I found is I have this funny experience because I have a little girl, and I'll read her books and put her to bed. And if you look at kids' stories, they're just full of all these basic truths. And sometimes I read these stories that they're just so basic, so innocent, yet so powerful and true. I'm like, gosh, I should show up and read these books. Satsang, because they're just good. They're solid teaching. So if you want to teach the children about the truth is always really simple. It's always really simple. And the thing about kids too, it's oftentimes they can teach us what the truth is, not the other way around, but they'll teach us. If you let them. But kids, they're in contact with their heart. And so you support them being in contact with their heart. You support them expressing their emotions. You hold them and you love them when they're suffering. But the kids don't need to be taught much in regard to truth with a capital T. They already know it. They know that meanness is wrong and lying is wrong. And they know when you're hiding and manipulating. And so how to teach kids? I don't know. Reading books, this little, kids' books. Because again, the truth is simple. Be with them, see them, play them, let them fail. Show them that failure is not defeat. That failure is a doorway just to learning. Just to learning. Anyways. Okay, I think we're done, everyone. So much love for each of you. God bless you all. And please, I know I talk about my health sometimes. I don't want anyone to worry about me at all. I am full of light and I am so graced by God. And just sometimes bodies don't work. And I will get better. I will. So anyways, as long as I talk about my health, people send me all these emails, but you don't have to worry about me. I'll be getting better soon. I know it. Much love to all of you. Good night, everyone. Bye.